When was the last time you put in the effort to intentionally encourage someone? Today we find a really amazing event where a lot of encouragement takes place as we look at these verses that mention do not fear. We find ourselves with Moses, the legend, right? The legendary Moses. He wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, right? This guy who led God's people out of slavery, out of Egypt. This one that parted the waters, that brought all the various plagues upon Egypt, that made Pharaoh the most powerful man in the world change his mind. The one that rescued and led through the wilderness. And this incredible man of faith, well, he's leaving. And Joshua, the one who has stayed strong in his convictions that they can conquer Canaan, as we talked about last week, right? That they can conquer Canaan. Joshua is going to be leading in his place. And Israel wasn't too excited about going into Canaan 40 years ago. They've been wandering around thinking about it for a while, right? And they weren't real excited. They weren't quite convinced that God could take them there. And so they wander for 40 years and kind of process it. And as that time comes to an end, it's also time for Moses to transition, and he will go and die. And he'll be transferring his power. And here in this passage, right here in the book of Deuteronomy, are Moses' words to the Israelites, as Joshua is going to accept the leadership of Israel, and Moses will leave them and allow them to go into Canaan without him. He says this, he says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, be strong and courageous, he repeats himself. For you must go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their ancestors to give to them, and you must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. It's like Moses knows, life can be discouraging, can't it? There's a lot in life to be scared of. There's a lot of things that can terrify us, that can make us uneasy, that can make us worry about our families, about our own lives, about our careers, about our safety, about our health, right? Fear is everywhere. And discouragement can set in, and we can feel so alone. Moses gets all these things. Not because he just understands it, but because Moses has been there. He's felt them. He knows that everybody has felt them, including Joshua. And so he speaks truth and encouragement to Joshua. He says, I want you to be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. He will never leave you. There's nothing that could make him care less about you. There is nothing that would ever make him turn you literally can't do anything that would make God turn away from you. And where you're headed, God's already there. He's waiting for you. He's gone before you. He's gone and he's prepared the way for you. He's gone and he's made sure he knows what's going to happen to you. And it'll be a mix of good and challenging, but God's there with you. He has a plan. He's going to see it through, right? He goes before you, in front of you, making a way. And so today I want you and I want us to hear this message. Don't be afraid. Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel alone, because God is working. God is leading. God is preparing whatever might be ahead of you today, this week, this month, the rest of 2020. Like as this election closes out, whatever might be ahead, don't be afraid, even though you might not be able to see it clearly. Because God will never leave you. God's never going to get bored of you. He's never going to find you unworthy because you were unworthy when he started with you. And it's not about your worthiness, it's about his worthiness. He'll stick by your side every step because it's not about your faithfulness, it's about his faithfulness. And so here's what I want you to do about it. I want you to internalize this message and I want you to go out and share it with someone. I want you to go out and speak to someone and say, hey, listen, I know you're having a rough time, or maybe, life's going okay. I just wanted to speak. Here's some encouragement I have for you. Here is something that I've noticed in you. Here's a way I've noticed God is using you. And I want you to know that God is working in your life because I see it in you. God has gone before you. God is with you. So my challenge to you today is to not only internalize this message from Deuteronomy, from Moses to Joshua, don't hear it for yourself and then share it with someone else. Let me pray for you. God, thank you so much that you are the great encourager. May we lean into that. And may we build one another up, encouraging one another, calling out the positive things we see in one another and the ways we see you working in our lives. And may we always know that you will never leave us or forsake us. I pray this in your name. Amen.